coding behind video games really vigorous? Like, terrible?
Millions of lines of code.
When you read it.
Millions upon millions. Oh.
You can see how many mistakes
Okay.
there would be.
So, today we're going to talk about lists, tuples, and we're going to touch on dictionaries. Thursday we'll go over dictionaries a little more. You can do a lot of pretty cool stuff with dictionaries, but... So, what is a list?
Series of items.
It's just a container that you can put items, you can put numbers, strings, Boolean, you can put anything you want in it. And you can also put other lists in it. So you can also put objects if you create an object. So it's just a collection of stuff you can do stuff to. Really useful when you're handling data or objects. You can make an object use a list. So let's just get started. First, let's do our, since you guys need some reminders. Okay, so let's talk about it. So lists are very similar to arrays in Java, PHP, and other certain, pretty much all other programming languages. They call them arrays, but Python's a little different. It calls them lists. And there's certain, this is all part of like the data set idea. So like an array is a data set. It's a set of data. However, in other languages, you know, if you have strings, it's got to be all strings. If you have numbers, it's got to all be numbers. So you can't mix and match, but you can in Python. So let's just create a blank list. We're going to call it my list. So there you go. We have created an empty list. Lists, you use square brackets. Tuples, you use parentheses. And dictionaries, you use curly brackets. So keep that straight in your mind so you don't screw something up later. So let's see what we can do. Let's do my list equals, we'll say tacos, the number 2, say true, and it also is equal 2.1011 plus, oops. Okay, so as you can see, we have the 4 major types in there. So let's just print my list. Hopefully this works. There you go. So it printed the string tacos, the integer 2, the Boolean true, and then the float 7.7899999. I don't know why it did that. So I just added them together, so clearly something's a little screwy there, but for the most part that's correct. Who knows? Suppose we didn't tell it how far to go to, but it should have put zeros and then dropped the zeros. Anyway, so that's how that works. And let's do, you know what, let's call this my list 2. Let's call that my list 2. So let's add, let's see, where in my notes did I do? Let's do list append. So we can do my list. So this is an empty list. Let's add some stuff. Append. Let's just put in there what sounds good. Let's just put in H. Why not? No, let's put in, we'll go with tacos, nachos.
Does this one have to be a square bracket?
No. My list is already defined. We're just appending to it. Which, what is append? If I have the numbers 1, 2, 3, and I append to it the number 4, how does that work? What happens?
You're adding a number to it.
Yeah, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. You're appending it to the end. So this is just appending, so we'll print my list, the original. So what happened there? Oh, because yeah, we didn't change that variable. So let's change that variable so it prints 2 and then it prints the original one. So there we go. So it prints nachos, 2 true, 7.789 repeating, of course. And then the next, our first list, more or less, has the word nachos in it now. So, was that?
I did it the first time, and mine actually came out all on one line. Was that not supposed to happen?
Yeah, there's 2 lists.
Oh, 2 lists.
My list and my list 2. I know you guys are typing while I'm changing stuff on you, so. I apologize that my brain works much faster than yours. It's part of the curse of being a genius. I took an IQ test. It was like 138, 136 or whatever. Not quite genius. I think 140 is a genius, but I'm smarter than your average bear.
Yeah, you're superior. That's what you're.
I just have more crap going on in my head than most people. It's really loud in my head. It's really unpleasant. Usually I drown it out with music. So. Or alcohol. It just depends on the time of day.
Both, honestly.
All us geniuses, or almost geniuses, have our vices.
So that's what's really in that water bottle. Huh?
What's that?
So that's what's really in that water bottle. Huh?
Yeah. So, what can we do with these 2 lists together? Well, we can concatenate them. What does concatenate mean?
To add lists together.
Yeah, just add something to another thing. Not necessarily like add like plus, although we can use the plus sign to add them. So it's not like 2 plus 2 is 4, but like 2 concatenate 2 is 2 and 2. So
Print my list plus my list 2.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, you can do it exactly like that, or you can actually change, like you can create a new list out of those concatenated 2. So you can do, I think this is the right, I think I remember the equals. I think this is the right syntax. I think I have to do that. So we're making another list. I think that's right. Let's see. Well, it didn't give me an error, so let's see. Print. I haven't been spacing it, so let's try to stay. There we go. Well, it still has that extra bracket in there, so let's kill that bracket. See what this does. There we go. That looks better. So what we've done is concatenated those 2 lists into a new superior list called MyList3. So you can actually put lists inside lists, and they're called nested lists. So before we do that, let's say MyList.append. We're going to append MyList 2. Oh, 2. There we go. So this should have some interesting results. There we go. So we have the word nachos. We have list 2, which includes tacos 2 true, 7.78, and then we concatenated it so it has tacos 2 true, 7 whatever. Because yeah, it's not going to reprint nachos at the beginning of it because we're not doing that, but it put in list 2, which is defined as a list because of the square brackets, blah blah blah. So there's some cool stuff you can do with lists. Unfortunately, in this class, we're not really going to get into the fun stuff that you, or I say fun, very tongue-in-cheek. It gets really messy. Whenever you guys take script programming, hopefully this will at least kind of get your head around the crap you're about to do, because it gets silly. Ken just told me about his assignment that he does for his lists, and yeah, it sounds fun.
On the MyList3, why bother going through the 2 different lines on 15 and 16? why not just take off the mylist3 equals and put print there instead and have just print mylist1 or mylist plus mylist2?
You can do that, but essentially you're not making that third list. So if you wanted to do something with that third list, printing doesn't do anything. Like if you print, you know, the variable tribbles times Federation or divided by Federation credits, or tribbles cost divided by Federation credits, you get, you know, how many tribbles you can buy. And then if you print those, if you print either one of those variables by themselves, they haven't changed. Essentially with this, we're creating a new list. So that it's a standalone, not an object, but it's a standalone list that is not reliant on those other two anymore. But if you're just wanting to print something, then yeah. If you're not wanting to actually change them, you can just do print. Yeah, you can essentially just get rid of this and put print. But you don't make the list 3, so. Okay, what else is there? So let's talk about slice. So let's create a new slice list. We'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, 4, 5, 6. We don't really have to space them. Let's not space them. So I'm going to do other stuff to this later. Okay, so now a slice list is a list that comprises of 1 through 6. So let's print some slices. Print slice list. We'll say 1. I think we've talked about this before, but we're going to do it again. So what's this going to do?
Cut the list of individuals.
Gonna print 1 to 4.
Well, so what's going to print?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Remember, the 1 right here, the 1 in slice list is position 0. It starts with 0, so it's going to print 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to print 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I were to put a 0 there, then it would print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But in this case, it's just going to print, oh, it's just going to print 2, 3, 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I guess it goes 2 and not including. So remember that the last number, it's print up until that. I don't think, did it print 5? Or not?
No, there's 2.
Bugger off. Yeah, 2, 3, 4. So that's not reliant on the number 4. Don't make that association, because that would be a wrong association. So essentially it prints 1, 2, 3, not including 4. I always thought that was kind of weird. I felt like it should include the 4th, but it's saying 1, 2, 4, but not including. So just keep that in mind. That will be useful on the assignment somewhat. Or you can just use get. So let's say we just want to print a specific variable. How would I go about doing that? Say I want to print the 6. How would I do that?
6 to 6.
Let's see what happens if I put 6 in there. Let's change these. I feel like this might confuse somebody. Let's change this to a B, C, D, E, oops. Okay, so say I want to print the G, what do I need to do?
Do F to G.
If I just want to print the G.
Oh, print slice list G.
See, that's why I wanted to change them, because you got it confused. No. We're talking about spots. We're not talking about, so whenever I had it through 1 through 4, I can see where you guys got that. But this is spot 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I want to print the G, I need to do spot 6, correct? So let's see what happens. Oops.
Forgot parentheses.
A parenthesis. There we go. There you go. So we got a G there. What happens if I go beyond it? You think it's going to loop back? Or do you think it's going to bark at me? List index out of range. So if you see that error, you've gone beyond the scope of your list, tuple, or dictionary. So there is no, but you can also, let's see. You can also do, what do you think this is going to do? Think it's going to error out?
Yeah, the index range.
Printed a G, that's weird. So you can actually use negative variables to start on the other side. So say you're wanting to pull the last item out of a list, you can do -1 and that'll be the last item. Because it can't be a -0, right? This is nothing. There's no negative nothing. So if we did -7, it's going to print the A. So, because remember there is no 0, so it has to go, yeah. So I don't know why that would be useful, because I think there's a command that actually prints the last item, other than this. But there's a very ham-fisted way of printing the last thing, so, or a different area. So it might be useful in making a game or something, inventory and such. Okay, so let's say we want to get rid of something. Let's say we want to add. Let's add something. We talked about append. Let's say we want to insert. So let's say we forgot to add the person's name. So what we can do, let's say it's spot 1. I want to add capital Z. No, that's not right. List dot insert. There we go. So what do you think that's going to do?
Put Z in one's place.
So what's the list going to look like after this?
ZBCD.
Is 1 the first spot on a list?
Oh, B.
It's going to be A, Z, B. Remember, wait. What did I do? Oh. Because it's a function, I'm not calling that function. I'm essentially clearing it out. There we go. So it's parentheses, not square brackets whenever you insert. Any of the functions that are included with stuff, it's always parentheses. So extend, append, stuff like that. Say we later realize, oh crap, we don't want that Z in there. We made a doofus.
No.
Z doesn't belong there. How foolish of me. What do you suppose that's going to do?
Delete the 1.
Delete this thing that's in the 1 spot.
Oh, it's in the 1 spot.
So there you go. We did it, and then we undid it. Like I said, without any context, this stuff seems really pointless. I get it, but you will use some of this stuff if you take script, if you're forced to take script programming. So it's pretty easy, right? I mean, this is all pretty common sense, other than the numbering system. 0 is 1, 1 is 2. That part I can get you guys might find a little difficult, but you'll get it. Don't even worry about it. So say we wanted to extend. So there's another command called extend. We can do slice list dot extend parenthesis, and then let's say, what do I stop at? G H I J. What do you suppose that's going to do?
Add HIJ to it.
Yeah. Absolutely correct. So there's multiple ways. Append does the exact same thing. Insert does that. Just, I suppose they have slightly different uses whenever you get really into the thick of it, but just another way to do it in this simple sort of manner. Okay.
Oh, oops.
So you can also iterate through your loops or through your lists. We kind of touched on this last Tuesday, but so I don't know if you guys read my note. The reason find wasn't working is because it doesn't return a Boolean. It returns a position. So if you do like, 4 scores and 7 years ago, if you find years, it's not going to say I found it. It's true. It's gonna give you like the position, like 12 or 13 or whatever. That's the character that it starts. It starts on character 16 or whatever. If it's not in that, it'll return a -1. So I fixed that by saying, find if, whatever dot find is equal to -1, print it doesn't it just does not contain it. So that was the fix for that. I don't know if you guys saw my note. I doubt you guys ever read that stuff, so I'm just assuming you guys have more important things to do, like comb your friend's hair or whatever kids do nowadays. I don't know.
Oh, your friend's hair.
I don't know what you kids do nowadays. I don't know. So, watch Netflix. Is Netflix and chilling still a thing? I don't even know.
No, I have to get to it these days.
Oh, it will be. Yeah.
Let's
Oh.
do
Netflix is gonna be.
bro.
The new
Four.
company's gonna be streaming service.
for letter in slice list.
Count me out on that. Very beautiful to me.
I'm really excited about that.
I think that will work. Nope. Oh, comma. Can't forget your comma, boys and girls. Otherwise it won't work. There we go. So we can iterate through that list using a for loop. Essentially, we're just creating a variable called letter. For each letter in this list, print it. So, and I like fors. Fors are a lot harder to make infinite loops. So that's kind of the safe mode. You could do this as a while. You'd have to, might have to put in some error handling, or you could say while, letter in list is not equal null or something like that. But I think for loop does it just fine, much cleaner than a while would. So that's how you iterate through your list. Okay, so I've talked about lists, I think, ad nauseum. You guys should be able to do the assignment now. Let's talk about tuples. What is a tuple? What's the difference between a tuple and a list? Other than it uses parentheses instead of square brackets. And when you smart Alex say the parentheses. What's the difference? The name is different, yes. That's a sharp catch there. Yes, yeah. Anybody?
Harvard Women's College.
You guys shouldn't know because you guys never taken a programming class. But don't worry, baby birds, I won't leave you hanging. A tuple is immutable. Once you create a tuple, you can't do anything with it. You can call it, you can read it, you can iterate through it, but you can't change it. And in doing this, it creates a list, a set that is a lot lower in like memory usage, because it doesn't have to worry about is it ever going to change, because it's not. You can append to it and create a new tuple, but you can't remove things from tuples. You can't, what is it in where is it? I know we changed something at some point. You can't insert whatever the replaces, yeah. Yeah. You can't extend it, but you have to call it a new tuple because it becomes a new tuple. So you could say like tuple 2 equals tuple extend that. Because essentially you're just adding to it and creating a new one. You're not actually changing that one. So, or I would use concatenate because I'm not 100% sure insert would work or extend would work. So you essentially just want to concatenate like we did here. This is how you would do that with a tuple. So let's just this is bust in there. So tuple, oops, my first tuple equals. Let's see, what are we going to do here? What are we going to put in this tuple? Let's do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's good enough. Let's not go too crazy here. So let's just print my first tuple. So there we go. Notice anything different about tuples?
It's got the single instead of the double quotation.
These all have
The parentheses.
just like we said earlier, tuples will have the parentheses. So whenever you're printing it or dealing with it, you can see what the person used just by how it's encased with those parentheses rather than the square brackets. Same thing with dictionaries. Dictionaries will be in curly boys. So let's try to delete something in my first tuple. Can't delete function call. Oh, that's a function. Let's try brackets. There we go. So it gave us an error. It says type error. The type is tuple. Object does not support item deletion. We cannot change it. It is immutable, as the people call it. So why would this be useful?
In case you want something that won't delete.
So say you're running a big script, and in your portion, you have some set data that you don't want to be changed. This part's important. Don't change it. You doofuses later on. Because usually you don't work on an entire. Like if you have a gigantic program, you're only going to work on one portion of it, and then the other jackoffs are going to do the rest of it. If you want something to be protected from their tomfoolery, you put it in a tuple. So whenever they try to add something to your, like, well, this would be really cool if we added this to our tuple list.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it. This is a very specific part of my program, of my code. Don't mess with it. And then they can make their own tuple if they want.
This tuple has no use whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's because you made it.
Yeah. So in your portion of the program, it's very important. Put it in a tuple.
I guess then later on you can just complain to your boss and be like, these idiots should change my code. You should fire them.
Right. Well, and it kind of just serves as like a reminder. Like if someone were to go back and edit your code, and they see that tuple list, they're like, well, this is doing something specific. I should probably figure out why he did it this way, or why he or she did it this way before I edit it. Because maybe a function you have calls for 3 variables, and they're your variables: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If they throw something in there, it's going to throw off all the functions that use that. So just kind of a security blanket for your data. What can we do?
You can append it.
I don't think you can append them. Let's see. My first tuple dot append. Let's do. I think it's gonna want. It's gonna want this. Thursday. Oops, it's not gonna like the item deletion one. So let's just kill that. that didn't work. Let's try this. No, so you can't append it either. You cannot change it. It is set in stone. Once your wall made of concrete is set, and you're like, I need to move that rock somewhere, you can't, unless you break it down, which you can just go back here and delete it. But so what can we do? Well, let's kill that. Let's say my second tuple is equal to my first tuple plus Thursday. My second tuple. I think this is the No, you can do this, I just don't remember the syntax. Okay, so you have to make, so okay. So
you have to make my second tuple equal to something.
third tuple. Yeah, so my third tuple equals to Thursday. So then we'll do my, this is a little confusing, I apologize. My third tuple.
Oh shit.
Let's see what I wrote in my notes. Okay. Something not liking something. Ah, okay. That's really annoying. Wow, he does not like that. Gonna do plus? Yeah, I did plus. I don't know if there's a way to do it. I'm not asking you to do that, so the example I wrote down is this. Let's kill that part. Print 1, 2, 3. I think the plus was encapsulated in the, oh, let's see. 4, 5, 6. I don't know. So there we go. We added 2 tuples. Okay. So you can't. So they're pretty immutable. They weren't kidding. So I guess since we gave it a name, that kind of concreted it into a. So that's fine. I don't ask you to do something you physically can't do, logically can't do. So we'll talk about dictionaries Thursday. That's a whole nother beast. That one is more like an array in other languages. It has keys. So dictionaries have keys, and we'll talk about what a key is Thursday. But let's talk about your assignment. So for your assignment, just make sure you guys don't have any questions. I want you guys to create a list with the first 10 Fibonacci numbers starting with 0. So 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, whatever. On until the 10th number, not starting with, starting with 0. So 0 is 1, let's not get our list mixed up. And this is on D2L, so you guys can look at it. Using slice and or the get, I didn't go over the get, but you can essentially set something equal to the last, X is equal to my list 9, and then the next, Y is equal to my list 8. You can do it that way if you want. I don't really care. I want you to add the last two numbers in the Fibonacci sequence to get the 11th value. And then I want you to add that to a new list. And then I want you to add all of the numbers together, which I'll let you guys be creative on how to do that. Don't just put the numbers, like hard code the numbers, actually get them from the list. So add all the numbers in the list together and get the sum. Add that sum to the same new list that you just created. And then I want you to concatenate those two lists together, and then I want you to turn that concatenated list into a tuple, then print the tuple. There's a way just to convert it to a tuple. I'll let you look that up. You guys are smart. It's really simple. It's literally just one word and just one command. So, and then I want you to print the tuple. That's it. Easy. Sound easy? It is easy. I could do this in 10 seconds. Probably not. I don't type that fast. If I typed like 180 words per second, I probably could, but should be pretty easy. Any questions? Comments, concerns, complaints? Fling upon me your slings and arrows of malcontent. I prepared this week better than last week, eh? All right. Let's shut down this, and then I'll listen to you guys' questions.